Hello and welcome to Matt Loves Eurovision. It's my Eurovision 2025 February update number 3. Hope you've all had a good week. It's been a very busy week in the world of Eurovision. Lots of national finals or their equivalents, and there's also kind of semi-finals and heats taking place this week. On Friday we had the first of the German heats taking place, but we also had a national final, and that was the Polish national final. Now this is the first Polish national final for a couple of years. The main Polish broadcaster has been going through quite a big transformation, kind of ridding of it of a lot of the kind of government/political elements that had overtaken it during the time of the previous government. And also the Polish national final had become a bit of a joke really, because there was all sorts of kind of rigging from juries and other associated shenanigans in terms of the lineups that went there as well. So after the kind of internal selections last year, they've come back with a revamped public national final with an all televote, an all public vote way of deciding, and it was a really, really good final. I was really impressed. The show itself ran really well, really brisk, but quite friendly in tone. I thought it struck the right balance. Good range of genres in terms of the songs, so I think really showcasing kind of more Polish music than we've perhaps had in the past in the other previous some of those previous national finals. So really good job from Poland. Really nice surprise as well to have such this type of final. And let's hope they will continue it for future years. Now, the favourite beforehand just duly won with a convincing but not kind of complete landslide of a score. That was a good second place. And the winner was Justyna Stefkowska, and with her song Gaia. Now, Justyna is not a stranger to the contest because she has represented Poland before. Back in 1995, she sang the song Summer in Dublin. Now, I don't know if she is the returning artist with the longest gap between appearances. I've got to think a 30-year gap in appearing must be a record, I suspect. But if you know otherwise, please do let me know in the comments. I will try and do some digging as well. But instinctively, I can't think of anyone that would have had such an enormous gap between appearances at the contest as an actual competing artist. Then we move on to Saturday, another Super Saturday, and we had 4 national finals taking place, plus a couple of semi-finals and a heat. So we had the second heat of the German national final, Chefsache. That will continue next week. We also had the third of the Melfest semi-finals in Sweden, and we had the second and concluding semi-final in Iceland, Songvakeppnin, and unlike last week, the pre-show favourite did go through to the final. But then if we look at what the national finals that actually concluded. First up we have Estonia, Estelal. It's been running a long time. This year, no semi-finals, just a grand final. And there was a big pre-show favourite for that, and indeed they won, and that was Tommy Cash, who was very famous in Estonia, and he went with his song Espresso Macchiato. That was followed by Norway for Melodi Grand Prix. Again, very long-running national final. It's been running, since the 1950s. Slightly different format from previous years. It's returned to a single show, a bit like SLL, so no semi-finals. Again, the pre-show favourite, according to kind of polls and betting, was Kyle Alessandro, and indeed he won he got a clean sweep through with the jury and the televote with his song Lighter. And then much later in the evening, Lithuania concluded. They'd had quite a lot of shows in advance, so perhaps they felt they needed to make sure they had a suitably long final, but it was quite late on before we got the result, and that was a very convincing win in the super final for the band Catharsis, and with their song Tavo Aikis. I hope I pronounced that correctly, but in Lithuanian, which means your eyes. So we have three more artists chosen on the Saturday, and then of course we had the big show of San Remo, the concluding night of the Italian Music Festival. Now, of course, this is not a Eurovision National Selection show. It happens to be a show that is used for the Eurovision selection. The winner of San Remo has basically first refusal to go to Eurovision, although in the last few years I had understood that they kind of pre-knew from each artist whether they would want to go to Eurovision in advance, so they didn't have lots of prevaricating in the days after San Remo had finished. That appears not to have been the case this year, so we do have a winner. He's a chap called Olli, and his song Lorda Nostalgia won. However, he has not said that he will go to Eurovision. He's going to think about it, so we don't yet know if he is going to be the official entry for Italy. We will find out by or on the 23rd of February, so a few days to go yet. He has already been added into the Eurovision scoreboard and people have already been doing their reactions. However, that may be a little bit hasty because we don't know for certain if he will be going. And we haven't finished with national finals because we've had one today, the day I'm recording this, on Sunday. Armenia have returned to having a national final. And unlike all of the other national finals, where the favourite or the hotly tipped song and artist won, this did get a surprise win because it was not the pre-show favourite who won, but the winner was an artist called Parg, and their song is Survivor. Now, something to note about Survivor. I noticed as two of the co-writers of Survivor are actually writers of Eurovision winning songs. So Thomas Gieson, who many of you will know, who's written many songs for Melfest and also for Eurovision. He's behind Tattoo and Euphoria as one of the co-writers. He was one of the co-writers of this. Means he will have two songs at this year's Eurovision for the first time since 2016, because he's also a co-writer of the Spanish song. But there was also one of the co-writers of The Code, Nemo's winner from last year, is also one of the co-writers of the song. So it has a strong pedigree, but we shall see how that does in the contest. Now, looking ahead to next week, it is actually a much thinner week than previous weeks, and certainly for next weekend. At the moment, we only have one national final taking place in this coming week, but we also should hear from whether Olli or someone else is going to be representing Italy. But on the Saturday, we just have the four shows. So we have the fourth fourth edition semi-final in Melfest in Sweden, and this is the one that I think people are looking out for because it sees the return of former Eurovision winner Måns Zelmerlöw is back, and he is the hot favourite to win Melfest this year. So we're all waiting to see whether his song Revolution is as good or better, as he says, than his Eurovision winning song Heroes. We've also got the German semi-final as well of Chefsache taking place, and we have the first of the first Portuguese semi-final in Festival da Canção. And we have the one national final that is taking place is Iceland, Songkeppnin, just the 6 songs that have qualified for the final, yet somehow that stretches to a 2.5 hour long running period for the national final. So, but given it's the only one that's taking place, it may as well have your attention. Of course, we don't know, I don't know yet if there's going to be some surprise artist or song announcements coming out during next week. Remain to be seen who the UK artist is going. No further official news has come out from that, so we'll wait to see when that comes. Obviously, when that does come, I will talk about it in one of these videos. But for now, I hope you have a good week, enjoy, and take care.